She was 9 years old, dragging firewood through a blizzard, when she found him, a biker buried in snow, barely breathing. She pulled him to safety with hands too small for such weight. What she didn't know, he'd been searching for her for 5 years, carrying her dead mother's promise. And the men who tried to stop him were still hunting them both. The wind screamed like something dying. Lily tucked her chin deeper into the frayed collar of her donated coat, 3 sizes too big, sleeves rolled up so many times they looked like fabric donuts at her wrists. Her fingers, wrapped in mismatched socks she'd converted into gloves, ached as she dragged another fallen branch toward her makeshift sled. 9 years old, and she'd learned that survival meant preparing for the worst before it arrived. The radio at the group home had warned about the blizzard 2 days ago. Lily had listened from the hallway, hidden behind the laundry room door, while Mrs. Patterson told the state inspector that all 12 beds were occupied and well-maintained. A lie. There were 15 kids crammed into that house, and Lily had been sleeping in the unheated sunroom for 3 weeks. So when Mrs. Patterson loaded up her Mercedes yesterday and drove off to wait out the storm at her sister's in Denver, Lily had made her own plans. She'd slipped out before the older kids could notice, before they'd eat all the food she'd been secretly stashing. The abandoned bus station on Route 17 had been her refuge before. It would work again. The sky had turned the color of old bruises, purple-gray and threatening. Snow fell in thick, aggressive sheets now, not the gentle flakes from this morning. Lily squinted through the white chaos, trying to spot the red roof of the bus station. Should be close. Had to be close. That's when she saw it. A glint of chrome, barely visible beneath a growing mound of snow. Lily stopped, her breath forming clouds in the frozen air. Probably just trash. Old car parts. Maybe a shopping cart blown off the highway. But something made her wade through the knee-deep snow toward it. As she got closer, her heart began to pound. Not a shopping cart. A motorcycle. A big one, lying on its side. And next to it, partially buried, was a person. Hey! Lily's voice cracked. She stumbled forward, dropping her sled. Hey, mister. No response. The man was face down, his leather jacket crusted with ice. One arm was stretched out like he'd been crawling before the cold took him. Snow had drifted over his legs, his back, turning him into just another hill in the landscape. Lily's first instinct was to run. Dead bodies meant police. Police meant questions. Questions meant going back to the group home, or worse, somewhere new where she'd have to learn all new hiding spots and figure out which kids stole and which ones shared. But then she saw his fingers twitch. Oh God! Lily dropped to her knees beside him, her hands hovering uselessly. She'd never touched a dying person before. What if she made it worse? His jacket had patches sewn onto the back. A skull with wings. Words she couldn't quite read under the snow. She brushed the ice away from his face. He was maybe 40, with several days of beard growth and a nasty cut across his temple, frozen blood streaking toward his ear. Mister, you gotta wake up. She shook his shoulder. Nothing. She shook harder. Come on. His eyelids fluttered. A sound escaped his lips, so quiet she almost missed it beneath the wind. Lily made a decision. She couldn't lift him. He was easily 6 feet tall and solid muscle under all that leather. But she could drag him. She grabbed him under the armpits and pulled. He barely moved an inch. The snow was too deep, and her feet kept slipping. She adjusted her grip, planted her feet wider, and hauled with everything she had. 1 foot. 2 feet. Her arms screamed in protest. Her back felt like it might snap. But she kept pulling, stopping every few feet to catch her breath, her small chest heaving with effort. The bus station wasn't far, maybe 100 yards. In normal conditions, an easy walk. In this storm, dragging a full-grown man, it might as well have been 100 miles. You better not die, she muttered through gritted teeth, pulling him another few feet. I'm not doing this for nothing. 20 minutes later, her legs shaking and sweat freezing on her forehead despite the cold, Lily finally hauled him through the broken door of the bus station. The old building was a skeleton of its former self. Shattered windows, graffiti-covered walls, benches torn out and sold for scrap. But it had a roof, mostly, and the back room still had a door that closed. She'd lined it with cardboard and old newspapers, created a nest where she could weather the storm. She dragged the man into her sanctuary and collapsed beside him, gasping. For several minutes, she just lay there, listening to the wind assault the building. Then she forced herself up. Fire. She needed fire, or they'd both freeze to death. Lily had gotten good at starting fires with limited materials. She gathered her stash of newspaper, added some of the smaller sticks she'd collected earlier, and pulled out the lighter she'd stolen from Mrs. Patterson's kitchen drawer. Within minutes, a small flame flickered to life in the corner she'd lined with bricks to contain it. As warmth began to fill the small room, Lily turned her attention back to the biker. He was still unconscious, his breathing shallow and irregular. His skin looked wrong, too pale, with a grayish tint. She'd seen enough medical shows on the old TV at the group home to recognize hypothermia. She needed to get him out of those wet clothes. Working quickly, she managed to unzip his jacket and peel it off. Underneath, his flannel shirt was soaked through. She hesitated only a moment before unbuttoning it and pulling it off too, trying not to look at the various scars crossing his chest. She covered him with every dry piece of fabric she had, her extra donated clothes, the cardboard, even the newspaper. His jeans were wet too, but she drew the line there. Instead, she positioned him as close to the fire as she dared and sat back, watching his chest rise and fall. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "You have to be." Hours passed. The storm outside intensified into a full roar. The small fire cast dancing shadows on the walls. Lily added wood sparingly, knowing she'd have to make it last. She was starting to nod off, exhausted from the rescue, when the biker's eyes suddenly snapped open. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes, fever-bright and unfocused, locked onto hers. "Promise," his voice was barely a rasp, his breath rattling in his chest. "Must find her. Must find." "Find who?" Lily tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. "The girl." "Lily. Have to." Promised-eyed, his eyes rolled back, and his hand went slack, releasing her. Lily scrambled backward, her heart hammering. How did he know her name? Lily pressed herself against the cold wall, staring at the unconscious man by the firelight. Her name. He'd said her name. Nobody knew her out here. She'd made sure of that. When she'd run from the group home, she'd told the gas station clerk she was Emma. Told the librarian in town she was Sophie. Names were easy to change when you were nobody. But this stranger, half-frozen and delirious, had whispered Lily. "You're just confused," she said aloud, her voice shaky. "You don't know me." The biker didn't respond. His chest rose and fell in an uneven rhythm that scared her more than she wanted to admit. She'd seen Mr. Chen at the group home breathe like that before his heart attack. The ambulance had come, sirens wailing, and he hadn't come back. Lily crawled closer, careful to stay out of arm's reach in case he grabbed her again. His face was less gray now, closer to the fire, but sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. Fever. That was bad. She dipped the edge of her sleeve into the melted snow water she'd collected in a tin can and pressed it to his forehead. He flinched but didn't wake. "Who are you?" she whispered. The patches on his jacket caught her eye. She'd tossed it near the door, and now she dragged it closer to examine it in the firelight. The main patch on the back showed a skull with wings spread wide, and beneath it, words embroidered in silver thread, Iron Brotherhood MC, Montana Chapter. Motorcycle Club. She'd seen bikes like his rolling through town sometimes, usually in groups, their engines so loud they rattled windows. Mrs. Patterson always locked the doors when they passed, muttering about those people. But this man didn't look scary now. He looked broken. Lily's fingers traced the other patches, coordinates she didn't understand, a purple heart, and a small American flag. Military? The few veterans she'd met at the soup kitchen had been kind to her, always making sure she got extra bread. The man stirred, and Lily froze. His eyes cracked open, clearer than before but still hazy with pain. They were blue, she noticed. Like the sky before a storm. Water, he rasped. Lily grabbed the tin can and held it to his lips. He managed a few sips before coughing, water dribbling down his chin. Easy, she said, surprised at how steady her voice sounded. Not too fast. He blinked at her, trying to focus. You're just a kid. I'm 9, Lily said defensively. Almost 10. Too young to be out here alone, his words slurred slightly. Where's your family? Don't have one, the automatic lie came easily. I'm staying with my aunt nearby. Just came out for firewood before the storm. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment she thought he could see right through her. But then he winced, his hand moving to his ribs. What's your name? He asked. Lily hesitated. He'd said her real name before, but he'd been hallucinating. Maybe if she lied, she could figure out how he knew her without revealing anything. Anna, she said. My name's Anna. Something flickered across his face, disappointment. But he just nodded slowly. I'm Ghost. That's not a real name. Real enough, he tried to sit up and immediately gasped, falling back. Damn. Ribs. Something's broken. What happened to you? Ghost's jaw tightened. Road was icy. Lost control, but his eyes shifted away when he said it, and Lily had been lied to enough to recognize the signs. You're lying. His gaze snapped back to her, sharp despite the pain. Smart kid. So what really happened? Nothing you need to worry about, Anna, he said her fake name deliberately, and she wondered if he knew it was fake. You got a phone? I need to call my brothers. No signal out here. Storm knocked out the cell tower yesterday. Ghost closed his eyes, his jaw working. How long until the storm clears? Radio said 2, maybe 3 days. Damn, he was quiet for a moment. You probably should have left me out there. Why would I do that? Because I'm trouble, kid. And trouble finds me whether I want it to or not. Lily fed another stick into the fire. Everyone's trouble to somebody. At least you're honest about it. Ghost studied her for a long moment. You're not staying with any aunt, are you? Her shoulders stiffened. Yes, I am. Kids with families don't know how to start fires in abandoned buildings. They don't have calluses like that on their hands, he nodded toward her fingers. And they don't look at strangers like they're calculating escape routes. Lily's throat tightened. So what? So nothing. Your business is yours, he shifted, trying to get comfortable, and failed. But for what it's worth, you saved my life tonight. That counts for something. They sat in silence, the fire crackling between them. Outside, the wind howled like something hunting. Ghost's breathing started to even out, sleep or unconsciousness claiming him again. Just before he went under, he mumbled something so quiet Lily almost missed it. Just like her mother. Same eyes. Lily's blood turned to ice. What did you say? She shook his shoulder, but he was already gone, lost to fever dreams. She sat back, her mind racing. Her mother. He'd mentioned her mother. Her mother had died when Lily was 4. She barely remembered her, just fragments. Dark hair. A laugh that sounded like music. The smell of vanilla. How could this stranger know anything about her mother? Lily's eyes drifted to Ghost's jacket. He'd said his business was his own, but he'd also said trouble followed him. Maybe it was time to find out what kind of trouble. She reached for the jacket, her small fingers searching the pockets. Deputy Marcus Hayes sat in his patrol car, watching the snow pile up on Route 17 through increasingly useless windshield wipers. The coffee in his thermos had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept sipping it anyway. Anything to stay awake on this godforsaken road. The radio crackled. Unit 7, what's your status? Marcus grabbed the receiver. Still at the Route 17 checkpoint, Sheriff. Haven't seen a soul since yesterday. Roads completely buried. Stay put another hour, then head back. Sheriff Warner's voice came through, heavy with irritation. State's breathing down my neck about keeping the highways monitored. Copy that. Marcus set down the receiver and was about to pour another cup of bad coffee when something caught his eye. Tracks. In the snow, barely visible now but definitely there. Small footprints leading off the highway toward the old bus station. His pulse quickened. The bus station had been abandoned for 5 years, ever since the county rerouted the main road. But it was also known as a refuge for runaways and transients. He'd cleared out 3 homeless people from there just last month. Marcus radioed back. Sheriff, I've got tracks heading toward the old bus station. Looks fresh, maybe yesterday before the snow got heavy. A pause, then Warner's voice came back sharp with interest. Small tracks? Yes, sir. Child-sized, I'd say. Well, Warner's tone changed, that particular quality it got when he smelled opportunity. Could be our missing group home kid. Patterson filed a report 2 days ago. 9-year-old girl named Lily Morgan ran off before the storm. State's offering $1,500 for recovery. Marcus frowned. $1,500 seems high for a wellness check. Patterson's got connections with the state foster program. Plus, the kid's got a history of running. 3rd time this year. Warner's chair creaked over the radio. Check it out, Hayes. If it's the Morgan girl, we bring her in. That reward money goes to the department fund. Marcus knew what department fund meant, Warner's pocket. But he kept his mouth shut. He'd only been with the Morgan County Sheriff's Department for 8 months, still on probation, and Warner made it clear that deputies who questioned him didn't last long. What if she doesn't want to come back? She's 9 years old, Hayes. Doesn't matter what she wants. We're public servants. We serve the public good. Warner's voice hardened. And we follow state guidelines on runaway recovery. Check the station and report back. The radio went dead. Marcus stared at the tracks disappearing into the white landscape. $1,500. For Warner, that was worth trudging through a blizzard. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the screaming wind. Back at the sheriff's station, Warner hung up the radio and leaned back in his chair, a smile spreading across his weathered face. Lily Morgan. The gift that kept on giving. He pulled up the file on his computer. 9 years old, no living relatives, ward of the state. She'd been bounced between 4 foster homes in 3 years, each placement falling through. Behavioral issues, the report said. Didn't trust adults. Prone to running away. What the reports didn't say was that Lily was smart. Too smart. She'd figured out how to work the system, or at least how to disappear when the system failed her. And it failed her often. Warner had personally returned her to Mrs. Patterson's group home twice already this year. Each time, the state had paid the recovery fee, $700 in March, $900 in July. Now, with the storm making it a high-risk recovery, the fee had jumped to $1,500. Easy money. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Heard you might have eyes on the Morgan girl. Interested buyer if you can confirm location. Warner's smile faded. He deleted the text immediately and blocked the number. This wasn't the first time he'd gotten messages like that. There were people, bad people, who paid attention to vulnerable kids in the system. People who saw opportunities where others saw problems. He'd never crossed that line. Warner was corrupt, sure, happy to skim some reward money and look the other way when convenient. But he wasn't a monster. Kids like Lily went back to their assigned homes, end of story. Still, the messages were getting more frequent. More specific. Someone was very interested in Lily Morgan, and Warner didn't like not knowing why. He opened another window on his computer, accessing the secure state database. Lily's file was standard stuff: birth certificate, medical records, school transcripts from 3 different elementary schools. Mother deceased, father unknown. But there was a notation he'd never noticed before, buried in the medical records. A flag from 4 years ago when Lily had been admitted to County General with pneumonia. Blood type, AB negative. Genetic markers flagged for familial matching protocol per request #2847B. Warner frowned. Familial matching? That was usually only requested when there were custody disputes or inheritance issues. But Lily had no family. He clicked on request #2847B. Access denied, sealed record. His frown deepened. In 12 years as sheriff, he'd never seen a sealed record on a foster kid. Those were reserved for witness protection cases or children of federal informants. What the hell was Lily Morgan caught up in? His radio crackled. "Sheriff, this is Hayes. I'm approaching the bus station now. Definitely signs of recent activity, fire smoke from the vents." Warner grabbed the receiver. "Is the girl there?" "Can't tell yet." "Hold on." A pause filled with static and wind noise. "Sheriff, we've got a problem." "What kind of problem?" "There's a motorcycle here. Big touring bike, lying on its side about 50 yards from the station. Montana plates. Looks like it crashed." Warner's instincts prickled. "Montana plates. Run the plates." "Already did. Registered to a Marcus Garrett, age 42, Billings address." "But Sheriff, the bike's got Iron Brotherhood colors." Warner's blood went cold. The Iron Brotherhood. He'd heard of them, veteran motorcycle club, mostly ex-military. They kept to themselves, ran charity rides for fallen soldiers. But they were also fiercely protective of their own and didn't take kindly to law enforcement interference. "Any sign of the rider?" "Negative." "But those tracks from earlier?" "They lead from the bike to the station. Looks like someone dragged something heavy through the snow. Someone small dragging someone big." Warner made a calculation. If Lily had somehow gotten involved with a biker, this changed everything. The state wouldn't pay a reward if there were complications, potential kidnapping, adult involvement. They'd send state police, maybe even FBI if the Brotherhood was involved. But if he could quietly recover the girl before anyone else knew about the biker, the reward was still his. "Hayes, approach with caution. If you find the girl, bring her in immediately. Don't engage with anyone else. Understand?" "What about the biker?" "If he's injured, I'll call it in to state emergency services. Your priority is the Morgan girl." "That's an order." Marcus's voice came back reluctant. "Copy that, Sheriff." Warner ended the transmission and sat back, his mind working. The question was whether Lily Morgan was in danger or just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Either way, she was worth $1,500. And Warner intended to collect. Lily's fingers trembled as she searched through Ghost's jacket pockets. She told herself she was just looking for a phone, maybe some ID. Anything to explain how this stranger knew her name and had mentioned her mother. The outer pockets held ordinary things, a wallet with some cash and a driver's license confirming his name was Marcus Garrett, a few receipts from gas stations across 3 states, and a stick of gum. Nothing suspicious. But the jacket was heavy, heavier than it should be. She felt along the lining, finding hidden seams sewn with military precision. Her fingers found a zipper concealed inside the left breast panel. She glanced at Ghost. Still unconscious, his breathing rough but steady. Lily unzipped the hidden pocket. Inside was a waterproof pouch. She pulled it out, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it over the crackling fire. The pouch was sealed tight, the kind meant to protect important documents. She opened it. The first thing she saw was a photograph, laminated to protect it from the elements. She held it close to the firelight. A little girl, maybe 2 or 3 years old, sat on a woman's lap. The woman had dark hair and was laughing, her face turned toward the camera. The little girl was looking up at her mother with an expression of pure adoration, one tiny hand reaching for the woman's face. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She knew that photo. Not from memory exactly, but from dreams. From the fragments that came to her sometimes in the space between sleeping and waking. The woman was her mother. And the little girl was her. "No," Lily whispered. "No, no, no." Her hands shook as she dug deeper into the pouch. There was more. A silver locket on a delicate chain. Lily's fingers fumbled with the clasp. Inside was another tiny photo, the same woman, but alone this time, in military uniform. Army, by the patches. Sergeant stripes on her sleeve. Engraved on the back of the locket in cursive script, Sarah Morgan, always brave. Sarah Morgan. Her mother's name. Lily had been told her mother died in a car accident when she was 4. That there were no relatives, no family photos, nothing left. The state had said all personal effects were lost or destroyed. But here they were. In a biker's jacket. Hidden away like secrets. She reached into the pouch again, her breath coming in short gasps. Her fingers closed around something metal and cool. She pulled it out. A military dog tag. The firelight glinted off the stamped letters. Morgan, Sarah J. SSG, U.S. Army. ABNEG. Lily had seen enough war movies to know what dog tags meant. Soldiers wore them for identification. In case they died. Why did Ghost have her mother's dog tag? She dumped the rest of the pouch's contents onto the cardboard floor. More photos, her mother in combat gear standing next to other soldiers. Her mother holding a rifle. Her mother smiling despite exhaustion etched into her face. And in several of the photos, standing next to her mother, was a younger version of Ghost. "Oh my God," Lily breathed. A piece of paper, folded carefully, fell from between the photos. She unfolded it with shaking hands. It was a handwritten letter, the ink slightly faded but still legible. "Ghost, if you're reading this, then I didn't make it home. I need you to do something for me, something I should have asked a long time ago but was too proud to admit I needed help. Find Lily. Protect her. I've made arrangements with the state, but I don't trust the system. I've seen too many kids get lost in it. She's smart, stronger than she knows, but she's going to need someone who understands what it means to keep promises. You're the only person I trust with this. You kept me alive overseas when everyone else would have left me behind. Now I'm asking you to keep her safe. The coordinates are on the back. That's where I've arranged for her to go if anything happens to me. But if those arrangements fall through, if the state takes her somewhere else, you have to find her. Promise me. She has my eyes, Ghost. My stubbornness too. She's going to fight you every step of the way. But don't give up on her. Make sure she knows she was loved. Sarah." Lily's eyes burned. She furiously blinked back tears, refusing to let them fall. She didn't cry. Crying was weakness, and weak kids in the system got eaten alive. But her mother had loved her. Had made plans for her. Had trusted someone to protect her. And that someone was lying unconscious on the floor, half frozen and broken, because he'd been trying to find her. For 5 years, he'd been trying to find her. She turned the letter over. On the back were coordinates and a date, 5 years ago, 1 week after her mother's death. Below that, a name and address that had been crossed out. Then another address, also crossed out. Then another. Foster homes. He'd been tracking her through the foster system. The last address written was Mrs. Patterson's. Below it, in different ink, were the words, reported missing 11/12. Checking Route 17 area. Yesterday's date. He'd found her. After 5 years of searching, Ghost had actually found her. And then he'd crashed. No, Lily said aloud, her voice fierce. Not an accident. She looked at the cut on his head, the way his ribs were damaged. She thought about how he'd lied when she asked what happened, how his eyes had shifted away. Someone had hurt him. Someone had tried to stop him from reaching her. But why? A sound outside made her freeze. Not the wind this time. An engine. Through the broken windows, she saw headlights cutting through the snow, getting closer. Ghost's eyes snapped open, suddenly alert despite his injuries. The engine sound had woken him too. His gaze fell on the photos and documents scattered around Lily, and recognition flashed across his face. Not anger, resignation. Lily, he said quietly. Your real name is Lily. She met his eyes, the silver locket clutched in her fist. Why do you have my mother's things? Because I promised her I'd find you. He tried to sit up, grimacing in pain. And because someone doesn't want me to keep that promise. The headlights were close now, maybe 50 yards away. Is that them? Lily whispered. The people who hurt you? Ghost struggled to his feet, using the wall for support. Worse. That's a cop car. So? Cops are supposed to help. His expression was grim. Not this one. Ghost moved faster than Lily thought possible for someone with broken ribs. He grabbed his jacket, stuffing the photos and documents back into the hidden pocket with practiced efficiency. We need to go. Now. But you said it's a cop. I know what I said. He pulled on the jacket, his face going white with pain. Not all cops are good guys, kid. And the one coming here? He's working for someone who really doesn't want us having a reunion. Lily clutched the locket, her mind spinning. I don't understand. The engine cut off outside. A car door slammed. Ghost grabbed her shoulder, his blue eyes intense. Listen to me very carefully. Your mother wasn't just a soldier. She found out something she wasn't supposed to know, something that got her killed. And the people responsible think you might know about it too. But I don't. I was 4. Doesn't matter. They can't take that risk. He moved toward the back of the station, dragging his left leg slightly. Is there another way out of here? Lily nodded, already moving. She'd scouted 3 escape routes when she'd first claimed this place as her hideout. There's a loading dock in back. The door's rusted but I can get it open. Smart girl. They hurried through the dark interior, Lily leading the way around broken benches and debris. Behind them, she heard the front door creak open. Sheriff's Department, a voice called out. Anyone in here? Ghost put a finger to his lips. They froze in the shadows. I can see smoke from your fire, the deputy continued. No one's in trouble. Just checking if anyone needs help with the storm. Lily recognized the tone, the fake friendly voice adults used when they were lying. She'd heard it from social workers and foster parents her whole life. Ghost pointed toward the loading dock. They moved silently, years of survival teaching Lily how to make herself small and quiet. They were almost to the door when Ghost's boot crunched on broken glass. The sound echoed through the empty station like a gunshot. "Stop right there." The deputy's flashlight beam swung toward them. Ghost shoved Lily toward the door. "Run." She hit the rusted loading dock door with her shoulder. It groaned but held. Behind her, she heard the deputy's footsteps pounding closer, his radio crackling as he called for backup. "I said stop. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Ghost slammed into the door beside her, and together they burst through into the blinding snow. Lily's feet hit the ground running. Ghost was right behind her, moving remarkably fast despite his injuries. "There's woods 50 yards east." Lily shouted over the wind. They ran. The deputy emerged from the station, his flashlight searching through the snow. "Sheriff, this is Hayes. I've got eyes on the girl, she's with the biker. They're heading east on foot." Warner's voice crackled back. "Stop them, Hayes. Use whatever force necessary." Hayes hesitated only a moment before raising his weapon. "This is your last warning. Stop or I will shoot." Ghost grabbed Lily and veered left just as the first shot rang out. The bullet whined past them, disappearing into the white. "He's shooting at us." Lily's voice was shrill with disbelief. "He's actually shooting. Told you." Ghost pushed her ahead of him, using his body as a shield. "Keep running." They crashed into the tree line, branches whipping at their faces. The deputy's flashlight beam swept through the trees behind them, but the thick pines and heavy snow made tracking difficult. Lily's lungs burned. Her legs felt like rubber. But Ghost's hand on her back kept her moving forward. They ran for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, putting distance between them and the deputy. Finally, Ghost pulled her behind a massive fallen log. "Stay down," he breathed, his face twisted with pain. His hand pressed against his ribs. "You're bleeding again." Lily could see dark wetness spreading across his shirt. "I'll live." He peered over the log. Can't see his light anymore. Either he lost us or he's being smart and waiting for backup. Why would a cop shoot at a kid? Because he's not really trying to help you. Someone's paying him, probably paying him well. Ghost leaned back against the log, breathing hard. "Your mother found evidence of something big. Trafficking, I think, running through military supply chains overseas. She was going to blow the whistle, expose everyone involved. And they killed her? Made it look like an accident." His jaw tightened. "I was stateside when it happened. By the time I found out, you'd already disappeared into foster care. I've been searching for you ever since, but someone's been making it difficult. Blocking my requests, moving you around, keeping you off the grid. Mrs. Patterson." "What?" "Mrs. Patterson runs my group home. She has connections with the state foster system, that's what everyone says. Kids who cause problems get sent to her." Lily's mind raced. "She moved me 3 times this year. Every time someone came asking questions, we'd relocate." Ghost's expression darkened. "She's part of it. Probably gets paid to keep you hidden." A new sound cut through the wind, not one engine, but several. Distant but growing closer. The rumble was deeper, more aggressive than the patrol car. Ghost's face went pale. No. No, they couldn't have gotten here this fast. "Who?" "The ones who ran me off the road yesterday." He struggled to his feet. "The same ones who've been hunting me across 3 states. Through the trees, Lily saw lights, multiple headlights moving in formation along Route 17. Not cop cars. Motorcycles. At least a dozen of them. I thought you said they were your brothers. The Iron Brotherhood." "These aren't my brothers." Ghost's voice was grim. "These are the bastards who left the club 5 years ago. They were part of your mother's unit overseas, the ones helping run the trafficking operation she was about to expose. The bikes spread out, surrounding the bus station and the woods beyond. Lily could hear them now, engines cutting through the storm like mechanical predators. One bike stopped directly between them and the station. The rider killed his engine and dismounted, a big man, heavily bearded, with sergeant stripes tattooed on his forearm. His voice carried through the snow, "Ghost. I know you're out here. And I know you found the Morgan girl." Ghost pulled Lily deeper into the woods. "We need to move. Now." "Where?" "They're everywhere. I know a place. Old Hunter's Blind about 2 miles north. If we can get there." 2 miles? You can barely walk. Then I guess you better help me." More engines roared to life, beginning a systematic search pattern. The riders were spreading out, hemming them in. Ghost and Lily moved through the trees, hunted. Every step sent fire through Ghost's chest. He could feel at least 2 ribs grinding against each other, maybe 3. The cold had numbed some of the pain yesterday, but now, running through snow-covered terrain with adrenaline burning through his system, every breath was agony. Lily stayed close, her small hand gripping his jacket. For a 9-year-old, she moved through the woods like she'd been doing it her whole life, quiet, efficient, instinctively choosing paths that provided cover. "How much further?" she whispered. "Mile and a half." Ghost paused behind a cluster of pine trees, listening. The motorcycle engines had spread out into a search grid. Professional. Military training showing through. "They'll expect us to head away from the bikes. We're going to circle back, move parallel to the road." "That's crazy. We'll run right into them." "Exactly why they won't expect it." He moved again, slower now, conserving energy. "Trust me." Behind them, flashlight beams cut through the falling snow. Voices called out to each other, coordinating the search. "North quadrant clear. Moving to section 7. Got tracks here, fresh ones heading northeast." Ghost smiled grimly. Those were rabbit tracks, probably. But it would buy them time. They moved in silence for several minutes, the sounds of pursuit fading slightly. Ghost's vision swam occasionally, and he knew the hypothermia from yesterday wasn't fully gone. His body was running on fumes. Lily suddenly stopped, pulling him down. "Listen." He heard it, a single motorcycle engine, idling close by. Too close. Through the trees, Ghost spotted the rider. Late 30s, leather cut with the same insignia Ghost remembered from 5 years ago. The man sat on his bike, smoking a cigarette, breath visible in the cold air. "We can't get past him," Lily breathed. Ghost studied the terrain. The rider was blocking the natural path through the trees. Going around would add 20 minutes they didn't have, and would push them back into the search grid. "Stay here," Ghost whispered. "What are you going to do?" He didn't answer, just moved forward, using the trees for cover. His hand found a fallen branch, heavy and solid. Not much of a weapon, but it would have to do. The rider flicked his cigarette into the snow and reached for his radio. "This is Dutch. Nothing in section 9. Moving to." Ghost hit him from behind, the branch cracking across the man's shoulders. The rider toppled off his bike with a grunt of surprise. Ghost was on him immediately, ignoring the screaming pain in his ribs, driving a knee into the man's back and wrenching his arm up at an angle that made the rider gasp. "Ghost?" Dutch's eyes widened in recognition. "You're supposed to be dead, man." "Disappointed?" Ghost twisted the arm harder. "Who sent you? Was it Crowley?" "You know I can't tell you that." Dutch grimaced but didn't cry out. "Tough bastard. Just walk away, Ghost. Leave the girl. Nobody wants to hurt you, you were a brother once. Until I started asking questions about Sarah Morgan's death." Sarah was making noise she shouldn't have. She knew the rules. Dutch's voice hardened. Some secrets are worth more than one life. What about a child's life? Ghost pressed down harder. She's 9 years old. What kind of secret is worth killing a kid for? The kind that keeps money flowing and mouths shut. Dutch laughed bitterly. You think we're the bad guys? Sarah was going to blow up an operation that feeds hundreds of families. Good soldiers, Ghost. Brothers who deserved their cut after what they saw, what they did. Trafficking isn't a paycheck. It's slavery. Call it what you want. The world's ugly. We just learned to profit from it. Ghost heard movement behind him, Lily, emerging from the trees despite his order to stay hidden. You knew my mother, she said quietly, staring at Dutch. The man's expression flickered. Yeah, kid. I knew her. Sergeant Morgan was a good soldier. Made the wrong choice. She tried to stop you. She tried to be a hero. Dutch's eyes moved to Ghost. Look where that got her. Look where it's getting you. A radio crackled on Dutch's belt. All units, converge on Section 9. Dutch isn't responding. Ghost grabbed the radio and threw it deep into the woods. He looked at the motorcycle, a beautiful machine, probably worth $20,000. I'm sorry about this, he told Dutch, and meant it. He picked up a rock and smashed the bike's instrument panel, then moved to the engine and ripped out critical wiring. The motorcycle was dead. Dutch wouldn't be calling for help anytime soon. They'll find me in 10 minutes, Dutch said. You can't run forever. Don't need forever. Just need long enough. Ghost zip-tied Dutch's hands with ties from the bike's saddlebag. Every rider carried them for emergency repairs. Tell Crowley I'm not stopping. Tell him Sarah's daughter deserves the truth. Crowley will kill you both. He can try. Ghost grabbed Lily's hand and they ran, leaving Dutch struggling against his restraints. They covered another half-mile before Lily spoke. That man, he said they were feeding families. Good soldiers. Evil people always justify their evil, Ghost said between labored breaths. They tell themselves stories that make them heroes instead of monsters. My mom really was trying to stop them? Your mom was the bravest person I ever knew. They emerged into a small clearing. Ghost recognized the terrain. They were close. The hunter's blind was just over the next ridge. But then the world erupted with sound. 3 motorcycles burst from the tree line on their left, engines roaring. Riders Ghost recognized, Crowley's inner circle, the ones who'd been with him from the beginning. The lead rider raised a shotgun. Ghost shoved Lily toward a fallen log. Get down. The shotgun blast tore bark from a tree inches above his head. Run. Ghost shouted, pulling Lily up. The blind is just ahead, that cluster of rocks. They ran as more shots echoed through the woods. Ghost felt something hot graze his shoulder but didn't stop. 50 yards. 40. 30. The hunter's blind came into view, a clever construction of stones and branches that Lily had somehow found months ago. They dove inside just as another shot split the air. Inside the cramped space, Ghost pulled Lily close, both of them breathing hard. Through gaps in the stones, he could see the riders circling, looking for angles. We're trapped, Lily whispered. Ghost pulled out his own phone, no signal, but he had 1 bar of battery left. He activated the emergency beacon function, the one connected to the Iron Brotherhood's network. Help is coming. How do you know? Because I finally got smart enough to call for it. Outside, Crowley's voice rang out, Ghost. Let's talk about this like reasonable men. Ghost checked his surroundings. They had maybe an hour before the riders figured out how to flush them out. He just hoped his real brothers arrived first. The hunter's blind was barely big enough for both of them. Ghost sat with his back against the cold stone, his breathing shallow and ragged. Blood seeped through his jacket from the graze on his shoulder, not life-threatening, but another injury added to the list. Lily huddled beside him, her eyes fixed on the gaps in the stones where they could see the riders pacing like wolves outside a den. "How long until your brothers get here?" she whispered. "Depends on where they are. Could be an hour. Could be 3-inch." Ghost's jaw tightened. "But they'll come. The Brotherhood doesn't abandon its own. Those men out there, they were Brotherhood too, weren't they? Once. Before they chose money over honor." He shifted, trying to find a position that didn't make his ribs scream. 5 years ago, there was a split. Half the Montana chapter wanted to continue the trafficking operation they'd started overseas. The other half wanted to expose it and shut it down. My mother was part of the half that wanted to stop it. Your mother led that half. Ghost's voice filled with something close to reverence. She gathered evidence, built a case. She was going to bring it to military investigators and the FBI. Would have put 24 former soldiers in prison. But they killed her first. Made it look like a drunk driver ran her off the road. The drunk driver died too. Convenient. Ghost's fists clenched. By the time I realized it wasn't an accident, Crowley and his people had scattered. Some went underground, some changed identities. But they kept the operation running, just moved it around. And I'm a loose end. Ghost looked at her, this small girl with her mother's eyes and her mother's steel spine. You're more than that. Sarah told you things before she died, didn't she? Things you might not even remember. Lily frowned, thinking back through the fog of early childhood memories. I remember. She used to sing to me. Made up songs about numbers. Numbers? Yeah. Weird numbers. I thought they were just silly rhymes. Lily's brow furrowed. 38779. And more. Long strings of numbers. Ghost's eyes widened. Account numbers. Sarah was memorizing the offshore accounts where they were hiding the money. She knew they'd try to destroy evidence, so she hid it in the one place they'd never think to look. In a 4-year-old's bedtime songs. You're a witness, Lily. Not to what you saw, but to what your mother told you. The numbers are still in your head somewhere, buried in memory. Outside, Crowley's voice cut through the wind. You've got nowhere to go, Ghost. And that little girl must be getting cold. Why don't we make this easy? Send her out, and you can walk away. You were never our enemy. Ghost ignored him. He pulled out the waterproof pouch again, finding a small notebook he'd kept tucked inside. Pages filled with notes, timelines, names. I've been chasing these bastards for 5 years, he said quietly. Following the money trail, tracking shipments, connecting dots. But I could never prove the connection between the trafficking operation and Sarah's death. The account numbers would do it, they'd show the money flow, prove who was involved. I don't remember the full numbers, Lily said. Just pieces. Pieces might be enough. Ghost handed her the notebook. Write down everything you remember. Even if it seems wrong or incomplete. Lily took the notebook, her hands trembling slightly. She closed her eyes, trying to pull up memories from 5 years ago. Her mother's voice, soft and melodic, singing her to sleep. 387792. Close your eyes and dream of blue. She started writing, numbers appearing on the page like ghosts materializing from the past. Some came easily. Others were fragments, half-remembered. There's more, she said suddenly. She used to tell me stories about a treasure box. A special box with 3 locks, and only someone who knew the magic words could open it. Not a box. A safe deposit box. Ghost leaned forward despite the pain. 3 locks means 3 keys, probably held by 3 different banks. Sarah set up a failsafe. Why didn't she just give them to the FBI? Because she didn't know who to trust. Military investigations can be compromised. FBI has corruption too. She needed ironclad evidence that couldn't disappear. Ghost studied the numbers Lily had written. She created a paper trail that would survive even if she didn't. A sound made them both freeze, scraping against stone. The riders were trying to dismantle the blind from the outside. Ghost pulled Lily deeper into the shelter. Listen to me carefully. If they get in here, if something happens to me, you run. Don't look back, don't try to help. You run until you find a main road, flag down a car, and you tell them to call the FBI field office in Helena. Ask for Agent Rebecca Thornton, she's clean, I've verified it. You tell her everything I told you. Understand? I'm not leaving you. Lily. You promised my mother you'd protect me. Well, I'm promising her right now that I'm not letting you die keeping that promise. Her young face was fierce. We both get out, or neither of us does. Ghost stared at her for a long moment, then laughed, a short, pained sound. God, you really are Sarah's daughter. The scraping grew louder. Through the gaps, Ghost could see 3 men working on the stones, methodically taking apart their shelter. His phone buzzed, 1 bar of signal, and a text coming through, 30 minutes out. Hold position. Demon. 30 minutes. They just had to survive 30 more minutes. Ghost. Crowley's voice was closer now. I'm losing patience. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. Ghost checked his surroundings one more time. The blind had 2 exits, the main opening they'd entered through, and a narrow crawl space at the back that led under a rock overhang. Lily could fit through it easily. He'd have to squeeze, and it would be agony on his ribs, but it was possible. The back way, he whispered to Lily. When I say go, you crawl through and don't stop until you're in the trees. I'll be right behind you. She nodded, already moving into position. The front stones finally gave way, crashing inward. A rider's face appeared in the opening, grinning triumphantly. Now! Ghost shouted. Lily disappeared through the crawl space like a rabbit down a hole. Ghost was right behind her, ignoring the white-hot pain as broken ribs scraped against stone. Behind them, Crowley's roar of frustration echoed through the rocks, after them. Don't let that girl escape. They burst out into the snow, running once more. But this time, Ghost could hear something in the distance. The sound of many engines. Coming fast. His brothers were almost here. Ghost stumbled, his vision blurring at the edges. He'd lost too much blood, pushed his broken body too far. The world tilted sideways, and suddenly he was on his knees in the snow, unable to remember falling. Get up. Lily grabbed his jacket, pulling with all her strength. Please, get up. Behind them, Crowley and his men emerged from the rocks. 4 riders, moving fast, spreading out to cut off escape routes. Ghost's hand fumbled in his jacket pocket, finding the emergency flare gun he always carried. A last resort. With shaking hands, he aimed it skyward and pulled the trigger. The flare screamed into the gray sky, a brilliant red streak that hung in the air like a burning wound against the storm clouds. Smart move, Crowley called out, stopping 20 yards away. His voice was calm, almost friendly. But your brothers won't get here in time, Ghost. You know that. Ghost pushed himself to his feet, putting himself between Lily and the riders. Maybe not. But I don't need them to. I just need them to find what's left. What's left? Crowley laughed. You think we're going to kill you? That's inefficient. No, we're just going to take the girl. You can limp back to whatever hole you crawled out of and live with the failure. Over my dead body. That can be arranged too. Crowley's smile faded. I liked Sarah, you know. Good soldier. But she couldn't leave well enough alone. Had to play hero. Had to save the world. He shook his head. The world doesn't want to be saved, Ghost. It wants to be fed, clothed, and entertained. What we do, moving goods across borders, connecting supply with demand, that's just business. You traffic human beings. I facilitate opportunities. Perspective matters. Ghost's hand moved to his belt, where he kept a small folding knife. Not much against 4 armed men, but he'd fought worse odds before. Then he heard it, a sound that made his heart surge with hope. Thunder. Rolling across the mountains. Getting louder. Not thunder. Engines. Lots of engines. Crowley heard it too. His confident expression flickered with uncertainty. That can't be. They came over the ridge like an army. Motorcycles, dozens of them, pouring down the mountain trail in tight formation. The lead bikes bore the Iron Brotherhood colors, the skull with wings that Ghost wore on his own back. Behind them came more, the formation stretching back as far as the eye could see through the snow. Ghost had never seen anything more beautiful. The lead rider pulled up 30 feet away and killed his engine. He removed his helmet, revealing a scarred face and gray-streaked beard. Demon, the Montana chapter president, and the closest thing Ghost had to a brother. Heard you needed some backup, Demon said calmly, as if he'd just arrived for a Sunday ride instead of racing through a blizzard to reach them. Behind him, riders continued to arrive. 20. 30. 50. The clearing filled with motorcycles and grim-faced men and women, all wearing the Brotherhood colors. Crowley's confidence evaporated. This doesn't concern the Brotherhood anymore. This is personal business between me and Ghost. You forfeited the right to call anything Brotherhood business when you abandoned your oath, Demon said. His voice carried easily, addressing not just Crowley but all the former members who'd followed him. 5 years ago, you were given a choice, honor or money. You chose money. That made you outsiders. We were earning what we deserved. We fought for this country, bled for it, and what did we get? Nothing. One of Crowley's riders stepped forward. The operation gave us purpose, gave us resources. It gave you blood money, Demon's voice cracked like a whip. And it cost us Sarah Morgan. The name hung in the air. Several of the arriving riders removed their helmets, and Ghost saw faces he recognized, men and women who'd served with Sarah, who'd known her courage and her integrity. Sarah was going to destroy everything we built, Crowley said, but his voice had lost its certainty. Sarah was going to stop you from destroying yourselves, Demon dismounted, walking forward. His 50-plus riders stayed mounted but ready, a wall of steel and leather. You know what the problem with your operation was? It required you to forget why you became soldiers in the first place. You started thinking like criminals. Justifying evil because it paid well. Lily's small voice cut through the tension. You hurt my mother. Every eye turned to her. This small girl, standing in snow up to her knees, glaring at men 3 times her size with absolute fury. You hurt her, and then you killed her, and then you tried to make me disappear. Her hands were fists at her sides. My mother was a hero. She was trying to save people you hurt. And you murdered her for it. Crowley opened his mouth, then closed it. What could he say to that? Demon crouched down to Lily's eye level. You're Sarah's daughter? She nodded. She talked about you. All the time. His scarred face softened. Showed everyone pictures. Told us how smart you were, how brave. Said you were going to change the world someday. Lily's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. She told me stories. Numbers hidden in songs. She knew they were going to kill her, didn't she? Yeah, kid. I think she did. Demon stood, his expression hardening as he turned back to Crowley. Which brings us to now. You've been hunting a 9-year-old girl because she might remember account numbers her mother taught her. That about sum it up? We have investors to protect. You have crimes to answer for. Demon's hand moved to his belt. Behind him, 50 riders did the same. Not weapons, phones. We've been investigating you for 5 years, Crowley. Building a case. Following the money. We know about the accounts, the shipments, the whole operation. We've already turned everything over to the FBI. Crowley's face went white. You're lying. Agent Rebecca Thornton, Helena Field Office. She's been coordinating with us for 8 months. Demon smiled coldly. You're done. In the distance, new sounds emerged, sirens. Multiple vehicles approaching fast. The feds are 3 minutes out, Demon continued. You've got a choice. Run and make it worse, or stay and face what's coming. Crowley looked at his riders, seeing the same calculation in their eyes. They were surrounded, outnumbered, and out of options. One by one, Crowley's men dropped their weapons into the snow. Ghost sagged with relief, and Lily caught his arm, holding him steady. Got you, she whispered. Yeah, Ghost managed. You did. The FBI vehicles came to a halt at the narrow entrance to the mountain pass, their lights strobing blue and red through the falling snow. 4 SUVs, tactical team visible through the windows. But before they could advance, another vehicle rolled up behind them. A sheriff's patrol car. Warner stepped out, his badge catching the light. He walked toward the FBI vehicles with the confident stride of someone who believed he owned the situation. Sheriff Warner, Morgan County, he announced loudly, approaching the lead SUV. I've got jurisdiction here. The girl is a ward of the state, reported missing from her assigned foster home. I'm here to take custody and return her to proper care. Agent Rebecca Thornton emerged from the lead vehicle, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Sheriff, this is now a federal investigation. The girl is a material witness in a trafficking case. A witness? Warner's laugh was performative, pitched to Carrie. She's 9 years old. Been passed around foster homes for years. Probably got confused by all this excitement, doesn't know what she saw. She knows plenty, Ghost said from behind the wall of motorcycles. And so do you, Sheriff. Warner's expression flickered. I don't know what this criminal told you, Agent, but I've never met this man. I'm just doing my job, trying to protect a vulnerable child. By shooting at her? Deputy Hayes stepped forward from where he'd been standing awkwardly at the edge of the crowd. His face was pale but determined. Sheriff, I need to report something. Warner's head snapped toward him. Hayes, get back to the vehicle. No, sir, Hayes addressed Agent Thornton directly. An hour ago, Sheriff Warner ordered me to recover the girl using whatever force necessary. When I found her with this man, he nodded toward Ghost, I fired warning shots as ordered. But I didn't know the full situation. I thought we were conducting a legitimate recovery. You had your orders. Warner's voice rose. A runaway in dangerous conditions with an unknown adult male. An unknown adult male who turned out to be a decorated veteran looking for his fallen comrade's daughter, Hayes interrupted. Once I understood what was really happening, I stopped pursuing. But then I heard you on the radio, Sheriff. Coordinating with someone who wasn't dispatch. Someone you called Crowley. Warner's face went from red to white. You're mistaken. I recorded it. Hayes pulled out his phone. Department policy, all radio communications are logged. I pulled the audio file. Thornton held out her hand. Hayes gave her the phone. Everyone stood in tense silence as she listened. Warner's voice came through clearly. Crowley, they're heading north from the bus station. I've got Hayes in pursuit, but if you can cut them off. Yeah, I understand. 15,000 on delivery. I don't care what you do with the biker, just get me the girl. Thornton looked up, her expression cold. Sheriff Warner, you're under arrest for conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and attempted kidnapping. This is absurd. Warner backed toward his vehicle. I'm an elected official. You can't just. Actually, I can, Thornton signaled her team. 2 agents moved forward, weapons drawn but held low. You want to make this difficult? Warner's hand moved toward his service weapon. 50 motorcycles revved their engines in perfect synchronization, a wall of sound that made everyone freeze. Demon's voice cut through the noise, I wouldn't. Warner's hand stopped. His shoulders slumped in defeat as FBI agents cuffed him and read him his rights. Thornton turned to Crowley and his men, who stood in a tight cluster, surrounded by the Brotherhood. You're all under arrest. Trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder. The list goes on. We want lawyers, Crowley said flatly. You'll get them. After processing, Thornton gestured to her team, who began systematically cuffing the former Iron Brotherhood members. But as they worked, more vehicles appeared on the road, expensive SUVs with tinted windows. They stopped just outside the federal perimeter, and well-dressed men emerged, all carrying briefcases. Agent Thornton, one called out. I'm Richard Castellano, attorney for Mr. Crowley. I need to speak with my client immediately. Another lawyer approached. Sarah Chen, representing Dutch Morrison. My client will not be making any statements without counsel present. Thornton's expression hardened as she counted lawyers. 6 of them. Expensive ones, the kind who charged $500 an hour. How did they know to be here, she muttered. Ghost, leaning heavily on Lily for support, spoke up. Because this operation has always been bigger than just Crowley and his guys. There are investors, people higher up the chain. They've been watching, waiting to see how this played out. One of the lawyers, a silver-haired man in a $3,000 suit, stepped forward with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Agent Thornton, I represent several clients with interests in this matter. I need to inform you that any evidence obtained may be subject to challenge based on. Save it for court, Thornton snapped. Your clients are going to federal holding. And I'm sure the charges will be thoroughly reviewed by my firm, the lawyer's smile widened. We have excellent relationships with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I expect most of these charges will be reduced or dismissed within 48 hours. Ghost felt his stomach sink. This was the problem, always had been. The street-level guys got arrested, but the people with real power, real money, they had lawyers and connections. They'd plea down, get probation, maybe serve 6 months in minimum security. Then Lily stepped forward. She walked right up to the silver-haired lawyer, this tiny girl in an oversized coat, and looked up at him with her mother's fierce eyes. My mother memorized your account numbers, she said clearly. All of them. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Singapore. She taught them to me as bedtime songs. I remember every digit. The lawyer's smile vanished. 387792461, Lily continued, her voice growing stronger. That's account 1. 295883770, that's account 2. Want me to keep going? The clearing had gone absolutely silent. She's lying, the lawyer said, but his voice shook. A child's fantasy. Agent Thornton can verify them, Ghost said. Sarah Morgan documented everything before she died. She just hid the account numbers in the one place you'd never think to look, in her daughter's memory. Thornton pulled out her own phone, opening an encrypted file. Her eyes widened as she compared numbers. They match. Every single digit matches the accounts we've been trying to trace for 5 years. The lawyer took a step back. The other lawyers looked at each other, and Ghost saw the moment they all realized the same thing, their clients were finished. No amount of legal maneuvering could overcome a 9-year-old girl reciting account numbers that directly linked them to international trafficking operations. Lily wasn't done. She turned to face Crowley. My mother was braver than all of you. She knew you'd try to silence her. So she made sure I'd remember. Made sure the truth would survive. Crowley stared at this small girl who'd just destroyed everything he'd built. You're just like her, he said quietly. Too brave for your own good. No, Lily said. I'm exactly brave enough. Agent Thornton made calls. Within 20 minutes, more federal vehicles arrived, armored transport vans, additional tactical teams, and a mobile command center. The mountain pass transformed into a secured federal operation. But the Iron Brotherhood didn't leave. Demon and his riders formed a perimeter around the federal agents, engines idling, watching everything. This was their territory, their brother's fight, and they weren't abandoning it until the job was complete. Ghost sat in the back of an ambulance, paramedics working on his ribs and shoulder. Lily refused to leave his side, perched on the bumper beside him, the silver locket clutched in her hand. The girl needs medical evaluation too, one of the paramedics said. I'm fine, Lily insisted. You've been out in a blizzard for 2 days. You need. I said I'm fine. Her voice had that edge that Ghost recognized, the tone of a kid who'd learned that showing weakness in the system got you labeled as broken. Let them check you over, Ghost said gently. Your mom would want you healthy. That got through. Lily allowed the paramedic to examine her, mild hypothermia, dehydration, some frostbite on her fingers, but nothing critical. Tough kid. While they worked, Demon approached the ambulance. He studied Ghost with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen plenty of combat injuries. You look like hell. Feel worse, Ghost managed a weak grin. Thanks for the cavalry. Got your beacon 8 hours ago. Took time to gather everyone. Demon glanced at Lily. This is really Sarah's kid? Yeah. She's got her mother's fire. Demon's expression softened. Sarah was one of the best. What happened to her? We should have done more. Should have stopped Crowley before it got that far. We were blind. All of us. Didn't want to believe our brothers could be that dirty. Still, Demon's jaw tightened. We failed her. Won't fail her daughter. Agent Thornton approached, her tablet in hand. Mr. Garrett, I need to ask you both some questions. For the next hour, Ghost and Lily gave their statements. Everything, the search, the crash, the pursuit, the account numbers Sarah had hidden in bedtime songs. Thornton recorded it all, her expression growing grimmer with each revelation. This is going to be the biggest trafficking case in a decade, she said finally. The account numbers Lily provided link directly to 12 high-ranking individuals, former military officers, 2 sitting state legislators, and a federal judge. Ghost whistled low. Sarah really did find everything. She built an airtight case. But she knew she'd never live to testify. Thornton looked at Lily. So she made you her insurance policy. Brilliant and heartbreaking. Will they go to prison? Lily asked. All of them? With this evidence? Absolutely. We're talking life sentences. Thornton paused. Though we'll need you to testify eventually. When you're older, when you're ready. I'm ready now. You're 9. Old enough to remember. Old enough to tell the truth. Lily's chin lifted. My mother trusted me with this. I won't let her down. Thornton studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. We'll make sure you're protected throughout the process. As Thornton walked away to coordinate with her team, Ghost heard raised voices near the federal vans. He looked over to see Crowley being loaded into transport, but the former Iron Brotherhood leader had stopped, turning back toward where the current Brotherhood members stood. You self-righteous bastards! Crowley shouted. You think you're better than us? We're the same. Same wars, same blood, same nightmares. The only difference is we were smart enough to get paid for our pain. Demon walked forward, his boots crunching in the snow. The clearing went quiet. You're right about one thing, Demon said. We have the same scars. Same memories. Same brothers who didn't make it home. He stopped 5 feet from Crowley. But that's where the similarity ends. Because when we came home and didn't know how to live with what we'd seen, we chose to build something. You chose to destroy. We chose to survive. No. You chose to profit from others' suffering. You became the enemy we fought against overseas. Demon's voice was hard. The Iron Brotherhood was founded on principles, honor, loyalty, protection. You twisted those principles into excuses for exploitation. The Brotherhood abandoned us first. Turned their backs when we needed support. We offered support. Medical help, counseling, jobs, family. What we didn't offer was permission to traffic human beings. Demon turned to address not just Crowley but all the former members. Every single one of you was given choices. You chose wrong. That's on you. One of Crowley's men, a younger rider, maybe 30, spoke up. I didn't know what I was getting into. Crowley said it was just moving goods, clean money. When did you figure out it wasn't? Demon asked. The young rider looked at the ground. 3 years ago. Saw what we were really transporting. Who we were transporting. And you stayed anyway. I had debts. Needed the money. Everyone needs money. Not everyone sells their soul for it. Demon's gaze swept across all the arrested men. You want redemption? Want forgiveness? Then you start by admitting what you did. No excuses. No justifications. You own it. Silence. Then Dutch, the rider Ghost had zip-tied earlier, spoke. I knew Sarah was right. Knew we'd crossed a line we couldn't come back from. Stayed anyway because leaving meant admitting I'd become something I hated. His voice cracked. Several other former members looked at the ground, shoulders slumping. Demon nodded slowly. That's a start. Small one, but a start. He turned to Thornton. Some of these guys might be worth cutting deals with. If they testify, help you nail the investors and organizers. We'll see, Thornton said. Cooperation will be considered during sentencing. Crowley laughed bitterly. You think turning on the investors will save you? They'll have you killed in prison. All of you. Maybe, Demon said. But at least you'll die knowing you finally did one decent thing. He gestured to the agents. Get them out of here. As the vans pulled away, the Brotherhood riders began a ritual Ghost had seen only twice before, the rendering of judgment. They formed 2 lines, facing each other, creating a corridor. Each rider removed their helmet and bowed their head. It was the Brotherhood's way of honoring the fallen and condemning those who betrayed them. The vans passed through the corridor of bowed heads, carrying men who'd once been brothers into a future of concrete and bars. Ghost felt Lily's hand slip into his. Is it over? The arrests? Yeah. The healing? He squeezed her hand. That takes longer. Demon returned to the ambulance. Feds want to put her in protective custody until the trials. No, Ghost's voice was firm. She stays with me. Ghost. I promised Sarah. Promised I'd protect her. He looked at Lily. If she'll have me. Lily's eyes were wide. You mean? Like, stay with you? For real? For real. No more foster homes. No more running. You'd be part of the Brotherhood family. We take care of our own. I don't know anything about motorcycles. We'll teach you. Demon smiled. When you're older. Much older. For now, you just need to be a kid. Lily looked between them, this grizzled warrior and this broken protector, and saw something she'd never had before, family. Okay, she whispered. Yeah. Okay. 3 days later, the storm had passed. The Montana sky stretched clear and blue, cold but brilliant with winter sunlight. The town of Helena had never seen anything like what was gathering at the Veterans Memorial Grounds, a sprawling park dedicated to disaster relief workers and fallen service members. Motorcycles. Thousands of them. They'd been arriving since dawn. The Iron Brotherhood had put out the call across every chapter in the western states: Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, Nevada. Word spread through veteran networks, military family groups, and motorcycle clubs across the country. They came for Sarah Morgan. They came for her daughter. Ghost stood at the edge of the memorial grounds, watching the bikes roll in. His ribs were wrapped tight, arm in a sling, but he'd refused to miss this. Beside him, Lily wore clean clothes donated by the Brotherhood's families, jeans that actually fit, a warm jacket, and around her neck, her mother's silver locket. "How many?" she asked, watching the endless stream of motorcycles. Demon said close to 5,000 confirmed, Ghost replied. "Biggest gathering in Brotherhood history. All for my mom. All for your mom. And for you." The memorial grounds had been transformed. The Brotherhood had erected a temporary stage, strung lights through the trees, and set up a display honoring Sarah Morgan. Her military portrait stood on an easel, a young woman in army uniform, eyes bright with determination. Beside it, a Purple Heart and other commendations she'd earned during her service. But the centerpiece was something else entirely, a black granite stone, freshly carved, that would be permanently installed in the memorial. SGT, Sarah Morgan. U.S. Army. Who gave her life protecting the innocent. And taught her daughter to be brave. Lily stared at the stone, tears streaming down her face. Ghost put his good arm around her shoulders. "She'd be so proud of you," he said quietly. "I wish she could see this." "Maybe she can," Ghost gestured to the gathering crowd. "All these people, they're here because Sarah stood up when it mattered. Because she chose to be a hero. That legacy doesn't die, Lily. It lives on through you." Agent Thornton appeared, dressed in civilian clothes out of respect for the gathering. "Mind if I join you?" Ghost nodded. Over the past 3 days, Thornton had become something close to a friend. She'd personally handled Lily's case, cutting through red tape to ensure Ghost could be named her legal guardian. The FBI had also provided protection, discreet agents stationed around the memorial grounds, just in case any of the investors' associates had ideas. "Wanted to give you an update," Thornton said. "All 12 major investors have been arrested. The federal judge tried to run, got picked up at a private airfield trying to board a plane to Brazil." "Good," Ghost said. "Better than good. With the account numbers Lily provided, we've frozen over $200 million in assets. That money will be returned to the trafficking victims, counseling, repatriation, education funds. Sarah's evidence is going to help hundreds of people rebuild their lives." Lily looked up. "Really? Really?" Thornton crouched down to her eye level. "Your mother saved those people, Lily. Even after death, her courage is still protecting the innocent. And you made that possible by remembering what she taught you. I didn't do anything special. Just remembered some songs. You did something incredibly special. You trusted the right people with the truth." Thornton stood. "The Bureau wants to thank you formally, but we figured today should be about your mother." Demon's voice boomed across the grounds through a microphone. "Brothers and sisters, family and friends, we're about to begin. Please gather." The crowd moved toward the stage. 5,000 riders, plus their families, plus veterans who'd come on foot, plus townspeople who'd heard about the gathering. The memorial grounds were packed with people, all standing respectfully, many wearing Brotherhood colors. Ghost took Lily's hand. "You ready?" She nodded, though her hand trembled in his. They walked through the crowd. People parted to let them pass, and Lily felt eyes on her, not threatening, but curious and kind. These were warriors, protectors, people who understood sacrifice. Demon stood on the stage. Beside him were 3 other chapter presidents, grizzled veterans who commanded respect across the Brotherhood. When Ghost and Lily reached the stage, Demon helped them up. The crowd fell silent. "We gather today," Demon began, his voice carrying across the grounds, "to honor Sergeant Sarah Morgan. A soldier who served her country with distinction. A mother who loved her daughter fiercely. And a hero who gave her life to stop an evil most of us didn't even know existed." He paused, letting the words sink in. 5 years ago, Sarah uncovered a trafficking operation run by men we once called brothers. She could have looked away. Could have stayed silent. Could have chosen the easy path. Demon's voice hardened. But Sarah Morgan didn't choose easy. She chose right. She gathered evidence, built a case, and prepared to expose everyone involved, knowing it would likely cost her life. Lily's tears fell freely now. Ghost held her close. Before she died, Sarah hid the most critical evidence in an unusual place, in her daughter's memory. In bedtime songs and stories that a 4-year-old girl wouldn't forget, even years later. Demon looked at Lily. Lily Morgan, aged 9, survived 5 years in a broken system. She saved a wounded warrior from freezing to death. She ran from men 3 times her size. She faced down corrupt officials and criminal organizations. And when it mattered most, she remembered her mother's songs and brought justice for hundreds of victims. The crowd erupted in applause. Lily buried her face in Ghost's jacket, overwhelmed. Demon raised his hand for silence. In the Iron Brotherhood, we have a tradition. When someone demonstrates extraordinary courage that honors not just themselves but everyone they represent, we render the highest respect we can give. He turned to face Lily and removed his helmet. Behind him, the 3 chapter presidents did the same. "Lily Morgan, we bow to you." All 4 men bowed their heads deeply. Then, like a wave spreading across water, every single rider in the memorial grounds removed their helmet and bowed. 5,000 heads bowed in perfect unison, a sea of respect stretching as far as Lily could see. The silence was profound. Sacred. Lily stood on that stage, this small girl who'd been invisible for so long, finally seen. Finally honored. Finally home. When the riders finally raised their heads, Demon spoke again. "Sarah Morgan's legacy lives on through her daughter. The Iron Brotherhood pledges its protection to Lily Morgan for as long as she needs it. She is family now. She is ours to protect." "Hear, hear." The response from 5,000 voices shook the ground. Ghost knelt beside Lily, ignoring the pain in his ribs. "Your mom kept her promise to protect you. Now it's our turn. You'll never be alone again." Lily threw her arms around his neck and held on tight, this man who'd crossed 3 states and faced death to keep a promise to a fallen friend. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for finding me. Always, kid. Always." The ceremony ended as the sun began its descent toward the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The riders lingered, sharing stories of Sarah, offering condolences and support to Lily. She met dozens of people who'd served with her mother, each one with a memory to share. "Your mom once carried me 3 miles with a bullet in her leg," one grizzled veteran told her. "Refused to leave me behind. She taught me to read," another said. "I'd hidden that I couldn't. She spent 6 months helping me, never told anyone. She made us laugh when we thought we'd forgotten how." Each story added another piece to the puzzle of who Sarah Morgan had been, not just a hero, but a person. Flawed, funny, fierce. Real. As the crowd began to disperse, Ghost led Lily to a quieter corner of the memorial grounds. His motorcycle was parked there, repaired by the Brotherhood's mechanics, polished until the chrome gleamed. "Want to see something?" Ghost asked. He opened one of the saddlebags and pulled out a leather jacket. Not his, this one was smaller, made for a woman. The patches were faded but recognizable, the same Iron Brotherhood skull with wings. This was your mother's, Ghost said quietly. She rode with us on weekends sometimes. Said it helped clear her head after difficult deployments. Lily ran her fingers over the worn leather, feeling the history embedded in every scuff and scratch. I've been carrying it for 5 years, Ghost continued. Waiting until I found you. It's yours now, if you want it. I can't ride a motorcycle. Not yet. But someday, he smiled. For now, just wear it when you're cold. Remember that she was more than just the tragedy. She was alive. She rode, she laughed, she fought. She lived. Lily slipped the jacket on. It was huge on her, hanging past her knees, the sleeves completely swallowing her arms. She looked ridiculous. She felt perfect. Ghost pulled off his own jacket, the one he'd been wearing when Lily found him in the snow. The one that had protected Sarah's secrets for 5 years. He placed it over Lily's shoulders, layering it on top of her mother's. 2 jackets, he said. One from the mother who loved you. One from the guardian who found you. Both promising the same thing, you'll never face the cold alone again. Lily looked up at him, this scarred warrior who'd kept an impossible promise. What happens now? Now? Ghost considered. Well, the FBI wants us to stay in Helena for a few more weeks. Depositions, paperwork, that kind of thing. After that, we go home. Where's home? I've got a small place in Billings. 3 bedrooms, big yard. It's not fancy, but it's safe, he paused. You'd have your own room. We can paint it however you want. Get you enrolled in school. Normal kid stuff. I've never had normal. Me neither. We'll figure it out together, Ghost's expression grew serious. I'm not going to pretend I'm perfect at this, Lily. I don't know much about raising kids. I'll probably mess up, forget things, not always know what to say. That's okay. I don't know much about having family either. Then we'll learn, he held out his hand. Deal? Lily took his hand. Deal. Demon approached, followed by a woman around 40 with kind eyes and smile lines. Ghost, Lily, want you to meet someone. This is my wife, Patricia. She runs the Brotherhood Family Support Network. Patricia immediately crouched down to Lily's level. Hi, sweetheart. I knew your mom. She was extraordinary. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true, Patricia's smile widened. I also hear you're going to be living with this knucklehead. I run a support group for Brotherhood families, other kids with parents in the club. Thought you might like to join. Make some friends who understand the lifestyle. Lily glanced at Ghost, who nodded encouragingly. Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. Wonderful. I'll get your information from Ghost, Patricia stood. And Lily? If you ever need anything, someone to talk to, help with homework, or just want to hang out away from all the motorcycles and testosterone, you call me. Anytime. For the first time in 5 years, Lily felt something she'd almost forgotten, hope. Not the desperate hope of survival, but the warm hope of belonging. More Brotherhood members stopped by to say goodbye, each one making sure Lily knew she had family now. Phone numbers were exchanged, promises made to visit, invitations extended. As twilight deepened, Ghost and Lily stood before her mother's memorial stone one last time. I remember more now, Lily said quietly. More than just the songs. I remember her reading to me. The way she smelled like vanilla and gunpowder. How she'd tuck me in so tight I felt like I was in a cocoon. She wanted you to feel safe. I do now, Lily touched the locket around her neck. She'd be happy about that, right? She'd be beyond happy. She'd be proud. Ghost's voice was thick with emotion. You survived things no kid should face. You kept her secrets safe. You brought down an entire criminal organization. And you did it all while staying kind, staying brave, staying you. Lily leaned against him, and Ghost wrapped his good arm around her shoulders. They stood like that as the first stars appeared, a makeshift family, forged in snow and secrets and sacrifice. Ghost? Lily said after a while. Yeah, kid? Thank you for not giving up. For searching for 5 years. For keeping your promise. Ghost's throat tightened. Thank you for saving my life in that snowstorm. For being brave enough to trust me. For being exactly who your mother knew you'd be. Behind them, the memorial grounds slowly emptied. 5,000 riders departed into the night, carrying Sarah Morgan's story with them. The story would be told in clubhouses and around campfires, in veteran halls and family gatherings. It would inspire others to stand against injustice, to keep promises, to choose right over easy. Sarah Morgan's legacy would live on. But here, now, in this quiet moment, it was just a man and a girl standing before a stone that marked both an ending and a beginning. Ready to go home? Ghost asked finally. Lily looked up at him, this guardian who'd crossed mountains to find her, who'd faced bullets and blizzards and broken bones to keep a promise to a fallen friend. Yeah, she said, smiling through her tears. Let's go home. Ghost lifted her onto the back of his motorcycle, settling her safely in front of him where he could protect her. He started the engine, and the familiar rumble surrounded them like a heartbeat. As they rode away from the memorial grounds, Lily looked back one last time. In her mind, she saw her mother standing by the memorial stone, smiling that bright smile from the photographs. Proud. At peace. Goodbye, Mom, Lily whispered into the wind. I'll make you proud. I promise. The motorcycle carried them forward into the night, into a future that held school days and homework, family dinners and scraped knees, birthdays celebrated and nightmares comforted. Normal things. Beautiful things. Things every child deserved. Ghost had kept his promise to Sarah Morgan. Now he'd spend the rest of his life keeping his promise to Lily, to protect her, to guide her, to make sure she always knew she was loved. The wind carried them home, and for the first time in 5 years, Lily wasn't running from something. She was running toward it. Toward family. Toward belonging. Toward a life where she wasn't just surviving, but truly living. The snow had stopped falling. The storm had passed. And in its wake, a small orphan girl had found something she thought she'd lost forever, a place where she belonged, people who loved her, and the knowledge that she would never be alone again. 5,000 riders had bowed their heads in respect. But the greatest honor wasn't the ceremony or the memorial stone. It was this, a promise kept, a child saved, and a future bright with possibility. Sarah Morgan's daughter was finally home. The end.